So I really believe that Borderlands has had one of the worst marketing campaigns ever, one of the worst posters ever. When I saw the cast of this film, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, this is a cast of a film that I would wake up in hell and that would be the movie playing, because I do not like any of these actors. I never find them funny. I really had no expectations walking into this. So the entire narrative surrounding this film is that it's an unwatchable piece of garbage. It has like a 0% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. It doesn't surprise me at all that the majority of people who watch this who are not familiar with the games, they're not into the tone this film's going for, would not like it, but I do find it to be pretty accurate to what the games were trying to do, that angsty teenage low-hanging fruit sense of humor. It's not as offensively bad as you'd be led to believe when it comes to these video game adaptations. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I thought it was pretty accurate to what the games were doing, if not funnier.
It's Pete. It's Pete. Why do you think it's called Piss Wash? How did I get the name? It's in my mouth!
But all of that being said segues me to the most important thing I want to tackle in this video, and that is addressing internet hyperbole. It feels like as a society, we have completely lost any nuance, any gray area. Everything is either the best or the worst in everything. Art, politics. It is just, you jump on a bandwagon, your mob runs over, and you just say, we are right, you are wrong. There is no gray area to anything. I heard this is the worst film ever. I heard people talking about how this is unwatchable. I heard it's the worst video game adaptation ever. Don't agree with any of it. That's actually, to be honest, while I'm getting into it, one of the reasons I made this channel, to address the fact that all I see online is hyperbole about how bad things are, how great things are. There's no discussion, no nuance to it. That's actually part of the reason I started putting my opinion out there. So when it's all said and done, this reminded me a little bit of the Warcraft movie. You know, it's one of those video game adaptations some fans will really like, some people won't like, but over time it's kind of garnered a reputation that it's not really that bad. And a lot of fans of those games kind of like that film. That's kind of how I feel about Borderlands. If you like the Borderlands games, if you like the tones those games are going for, the comedic relief, ignore what people are saying about the cast. This is not even close to one of the worst movies of the year, not even close to one of the worst video game movies ever. Now, starting off with what Borderlands is about, I'm going to be incredibly vague when it comes to this plot, because if you're not somebody who's incredibly on board with the video games and the story, it's not going to make sense to you anyways. So basically you have this character and she's a bounty hunter and she's tasked to go to this planet called Pandora. I compared Furiosa to this in the opening because it really does look like a Mad Max world. It's this post-apocalyptic wasteland. She's tasked with going there and rescuing this girl called Tiny Tina. We'll leave it at that. For the most part, it is a stupid comedic relief, low-hanging fruit action comedy. And for the most part, I think it works. Starting off with the actors of this film, which is by far one of the biggest controversies surrounding the negativity to this film. A lot of talk that these people got hired because of their genders, ethnicities, things like that. I mean, I'm even going to say, like I said in the opening, I'm not a fan of this cast at all. You know, when I read the names of these people, I don't like the majority, if not all of their previous work. And I think they were a little bit miscast. But when you go off of what they actually are asked to do individually, how they're written, I think almost all of them are well above average, and they're actually good in the roles they're in, with a couple of honorable mentions. Starting off with the lead, Cate Blanchett, I thought she was actually pretty good in this. You know, some people will take issues with the way they made her character look. Again, I thought it was pretty accurate to the tone of the games, if I remember correctly. That's what the vast majority of the characters looked like and talked like. She has comedic timing. She thought she sold the action well. Yeah, I thought she was pretty good in this for what she's asked to do. And then you have Kevin Hart, and I'm on the record as being pretty vocal about not finding him to be a very good actor and not be very funny. I think he kind of hijacks the vast majority of the roles he's in and does his little Kevin Hart-isms. Listen, my name's Kevin Hart, okay? I'm short. It's a joke. You're supposed to laugh, okay? It's comedy. I found him for the most part to be pretty honed in and toned down compared to what he normally does. He's not doing his normal mannerisms, his Nick Cage-isms, whatever you want to call it, where he just starts talking in that high-pitched voice really fast like he does for comedy. He didn't do that a lot in this. He only did it like a time or two.
To facilitate this type of...
Well, destiny awaits.
I thought it was by far one of his best roles. And I know a lot of people are going to shit on him because his name's Kevin Hart. A lot of people like me, they don't really like him at this point. But, I mean, at least give him a chance. I thought he was pretty good in this role for what he was asked to do. Don't dismiss someone just because of their name before you see their individual performance. And then lastly, for a character I thought was a standout in this one, was actually pretty accurate to the game, and that was Jack Black as the robot, Claptrap. Now try saying that 10 times fast. In all of the video games, Claptrap, the robot that follows them around, is this comedic relief robot. He always says these stupid, kind of very dry humor lines to every scenario the characters are presented with in the middle of the action.
What's happening right now?
I'm expelling the excess lead. I can't go know if you're looking at me.
And I think for the most part, they really nailed that in this film. I thought his character was actually pretty funny. So much so, in fact, the audience I was in probably had 20 or 30 people, and there was consistent laughter throughout. I'd say about 80% of his jokes land. So again, I don't really know what people are going into this expecting, but for the tone of this movie, I believe it was captured pretty accurate to what the games were. You have some good action, you have some laughs from Claptrap, and some comic relief at times that's pretty needed. I just think they kind of stuck what they were going for. And I've also heard a ton of buzz about the fact that Eli Roth directed this. He's another one of these Hollywood punching bags to a lot of fans. They just like shitting all over the guy. And I'm not the biggest Eli Roth fan at all as being a horror fan. I don't really rewatch any of his films. I believe the last film I rewatched the second time was Thanksgiving, but none of his films really have that staying power. I don't believe he's that good with dialogue. His movies are just not for me. I thought he was completely competent as a director. This is a well-made movie. The CGI is not that bad. The action is pretty decent. In fact, I thought the third act of this film basically devolves into a completely average Marvel film with the CGI and where it goes action-wise. But yeah, I thought it was completely passable. There's definitely plenty of action in this film that I thought was at least okay. It wasn't terrible at all. There's comedic relief to the point I believe the average fan's probably going to have a pretty decent time with this. There's going to be such a disconnect between the critics and fans of these games. I can see a lot of people having fun with this film if you're not completely religious to what the game stood for. So overall, guys, I will say surprisingly, I had a pretty decent time with this film. You know, I'm not super lore accurate to the games. I just know the tones they're going for. Had low expectations, but wasn't really that disappointed. If you're looking for a summer blockbuster and action comedy to have a little bit of fun, laid back time with, bring the friends, bring the family, I definitely don't think it's one of the worst video game adaptations. I think it has some really cool laughs. It has some good action. I think the majority of people who go into this just as kind of a neutral bystander will have a pretty decent time with this. I definitely think you can do worse. So have you guys seen Borderlands yet? Do you think it lives up to the negative hype that it's getting, that it's one of the worst movies ever or not? I definitely don't think so, but comment down below. Let me know, discuss it. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, what the hell are you waiting for? I do it all on this channel. New releases, scary stuff, tier list, everything you can imagine. Join me down below. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.